I believe America should engage or keep engaging with the rest of the world. When I take a cab, for example, cab drivers always ask me where I'm from, and I say I'm from Japan, and I ask them where they're from, and then they will say they're from Ethiopia, they're from the Taiwan or wherever, and then we start having a beautiful conversations. We talk about each country's origins and histories and culture, but we all have in common because we came here because we love America. Originally, I just fell in love with America after I saw some of the movies from America. One of my favorite movies was Gone with the Wind. I watched that when I was 13, and I just love the Scarlett O'Hara who is saying tomorrow is another day.
I got into Japanese because I grew up in Nebraska, and in Nebraska I literally grew up on a farm, and I spent most of my school year doing farm stuff. In the summers I'd go to British Columbia and build houses and things. So I was in the very rural parts of America and Canada, and I wanted to go somewhere that was so totally different. And so at some point in time when I was a little kid, I saw some movie on TV, and it was filmed in Tokyo. And I was like, wow, that is so unlike Nebraska. I absolutely want to go there. And from that impression I started planning one day to go, move to Japan, and started studying Japanese a little bit. So,
to be honest, language is most difficult hurdle for us. In Japan, I studied English a little bit, but it is different language. In USA, Americans speak English very fast for me, but during through the work and communication with my friends, I believe that I getting better.
My name is Chiyo Kobayashi. I am from Japan. I came to this country 30 years ago. I went to college and I was surrounded by more international type of people who came had experience living in America. It really opened my eyes. I really wanted to come to America. And I asked my mom, I'm from this small fishing village in a place called Toyama, which is some people call it the backside of Japan. It's not the very metropolitan area. And I really wanted to come to America, and my mother said, why not? So she was very liberal and encouraging and then supportive of my decision to come to the United States. Ever since I met many different people, and then I always wanted to be a bridge between Japan and the United States. And with my job and my family, I think I'm able to do a lot of interesting activities that, having bridges between two countries. I started getting involved in U.S.-Japan activities when I was at the University of Virginia. I was teaching assistant of the Japanese language program. At that time, it was back in 1980s. I was able to teach Japanese language classes. Japanese language class become really popular. Was in early 1980s, and Japan was just economically starting to take off. And there was a large interest of American people about Japan. And then when I was teaching language, there was such a popular class, and many people waitlisted. And then one time, there was a football player who wanted to take Japanese language class, and I was told it's unprecedented for a football player to take difficult language classes and other than Spanish. So it was very popular.
じゃあそこに少しだけなんか3分ぐらい。で、カツオさんはなんで日本語わかりますか？なんで日本語を話せますか？Okay, so this story goes back to about a year and a half from now. It was a Japanese event in downtown DC, where I met with Ben.
I wanted a place to practice my own Japanese. So it totally out of self-interest that I wanted to do this. And I felt that the existing meetups and the existing venues for having kind of intermediate to high-level Japanese conversation, they simply didn't exist in the DC area.
So we decided to start a meetup, and that was exactly about a year and a half ago. And so the idea came first from Ben. I chose the location, which continues to be Soho here. And the first meetup that we had was 4 weeks from that date. And the attendees were the only 3 of us. So there was absolutely nobody else except the 3 of us. And then over the time, we start seeing a lot of kind of new faces, people coming in, showing up, and interactive.
So I want to speak English and make many friends.
I found this meetup online through the website. I'm kind of new to DC, so I was looking for things to do and the ability to meet people. And then at the same time, I went to Japan in November, and I wanted to prepare before I went there and practice some of my Japanese.
I moved to DC 6 months ago, and I was looking for people I could feel like on the same page.
So the meetup is specifically kind of a conversation group. We're here to practice our skills. A lot of people take up teaching English abroad when maybe they first graduate from college. And then when they come back here, they don't have the opportunity to practice their skills anymore. So this kind of gives people who want to keep up their skills an opportunity to continue practicing. And it's also a good way for people who are thinking about studying the language or have just gotten into the language to practice.
There's nothing that we ask people, they don't have to be here. Like we say, hey, everybody's welcome. If you know konnichiwa, like who doesn't know konnichiwa? Then you're welcome, okay? And we try, to understand people. Some people, they come to here because they even have a plan to travel to Japan to work, or their spouses are Japanese, or their kids went to summer school in there, or they were like someone in the military in Japan. So there's so many different people that they share their stories with us, and that makes it fun. So we're not really practicing Japanese only, we're hearing stories, we're experiencing, what other people have been doing.
It's pretty fascinating just how many people from diverse walks of life are adamant about studying Japanese and are actually very, very good Japanese speakers.
So what motivates me to continue studying Japanese, I think in part comes actually just from going to this meetup. So you would think it would work the other way around, where I would be motivated to study and I would come to this meetup, but instead it kind of works the other way too, because when you come here and you get to speak with people who've had amazing experiences with Japan, or Japanese people too, you want to get better so you can explain yourself more completely and understand what they're saying more.
Besides language, it's a cultural thing. You learn new things. You're experiencing new food, new cultures. Learn how people think, how people live. So why Japanese? For me, it wasn't because I always had any passion about Japan. That wasn't the case at all. It was purely for studying. But then, things fall into know, a lot of things, culture, food, lifestyle even.
I think people should learn Japanese because Japanese culture is so different from Western cultures. The things that are valued, the things that are not valued as much, create really interesting themes that I think you would never think of if you didn't, for example, travel to Japan or read up about traditions or history. It completely changes your worldview when you can get to know another culture, and a culture whose differences might not stem necessarily from religion, but from just history.
I want to talk in English and make friends. And in this room, and I think and the difference and American culture, Japanese culture is very different. So I want to understand why the people in America like Japanese culture or Japanese people. I love here because in here there is a lot of nature and beautiful building, and I love traveling and sport. American people love sport. In Japan, I haven't watched sports game, but in here, I have watched many times. I watched sports game many times, so I love here. Thank you.
Go! Bogey! Walk off. Walk off, nice job.
I started baseball when I was 5 years old. I played baseball with my father.
When I was elementary school, I played baseball in local area. I was a catcher. I love catcher because catcher can see field widely as like a head coach in the field. Then, since my eldest son entered elementary school, he started to play baseball, and I also become a coach. I believe that baseball is most popular sports in Japan, especially high school student baseball. In the summer, there are big tournaments in Japan for high school students. In this tournament, each prefecture has representative team join this tournament. Every Japanese people is occupied with each games.
Kosuke, we have to put you on the mat for last inning. We have to.
Kosuke, go through.
Baseball helped me to make a lot of friends at school and the baseball team, and it also helped me to learn English.
Oh, I cannot imagine without baseball. Since my eldest son started baseball in USA, we can meet with many friends, including players, parents, coaches. So And, we can make a friend. It's a very helpful for us to understand American culture, thinking, what American think, how they do each situation. So anyway, baseball is great. Baseball is mentor for us.
I was also able to work at the joint venture between GE, General Electric, and a small Japanese company. And then at that time, Japanese economic miracle was taking place, and a lot of American businessmen, executives are very interested in Japan. So I was able to teach about Japanese culture and history, the way people do business. It's Japanese corporate culture were different from American corporate cultures and practices, such as lifetime employment, consensus building, the bank and business has a special relationship. So all these things I was able to learn and then teach and converse with American people who are interested in Japan. And ever since I feel I am ambassador to Japan, self-appointed, to be able to talk with anybody who is interested in Japan. So my kids sometimes jokes about my being self-appointed ambassadorship, because I always want to say hello to anybody who is interested in Japan or reading Japanese material. Said, "Are you Japanese? Are you? When did you come from?" I'm just talking with anybody in the street, and so at the bookstore, some American people are reading Japanese book. I will go up and say, "Why are you interested in? Can I help you?" And so I feel I'm very honored to be able to, and then thankful that I can be in that position to be able to bridge the two cultures. Japan-America society is such a wonderful place where people who are interested in Japan and Asia in general come together, and they will learn about the Japanese culture, but the Americans also the one who would teach American culture to Japanese. So it's a really good meeting place, and then first go-to place for anybody, American people who will learn about Japan. I just love this place. I feel they're doing always very creative activities, starting with the Cherry Blossom Festival. Recently we celebrated 100th anniversary of the cherries trees being presented, gifted from Japan. Some of them still survive, and they just bring up such fond memories for the Japanese people who live here, and then so proud that the cherry blossoms was given to this country, and this country is taking care of it so well. They do lots of language activities and doing like sushi meetup. People feel dedicated and then so inclusive, so everybody could come, and it's a really place to celebrate diversity. United States and Japan has a very interesting, unique history, and because of this history, two countries really represent what the other nations should be seeking in each other. It's they had in the past tumultuous relationship, but it's now such a beautiful friendship and relationship, and they respect each other. And Japan has a lot of things that America doesn't have, and then of course America has a lot of things to offer to Japan that Japan doesn't have. So they really complement each other,